Welcome to the Think React Lead podcast. This is Dom Faussette, executive coach and leadership speaker. Last time we spoke, we kind of covered the grounds around evaluating all of your actions. And as I promised you, when we got back online, we discussed eliminating your non-essentials. And that's going to tie us or lead us into dealing with all of your challenges. And we'll get kind of dialed in on that again. My name is Dom Faussette, executive coach and leadership speaker. I can be found on Instagram at Think React Lead and at Dom Faussette, Facebook, Think React Lead, YouTube, Think React Lead, and Twitter, Think React Lead. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday morning. You are going to see me, if you're watching this on YouTube, kind of avert my eyes back and forth to make sure the information that I'm giving you is accurate as I've studied these notes and put this together for all of you. So let's talk about eliminating your non-essentials. Big picture, right? Your non-essentials. Non-essentials are things that you really don't need to progress, to succeed. And as I've talked about before, success is not monetary. It's a feeling. In my life, a non-essential is television. Got rid of that. A non-essential, which I struggle with, would be sweets. I have a huge sweet tooth, so yeah, that one's rough for me. But maybe non-essentials for you, let's kind of remove the joking and put that aside. But non-essentials for you could be certain relationships, right? You've got certain people, maybe contacts in your phone that it wouldn't hurt to get rid of. Maybe a non-essential would be, I don't know, maybe the neighborhood you're in. That could be a non-essential. I remember when I first got into this entrepreneurial world and I was wanting to grow and get to the next level, I had to remove myself out of certain environments in order for me to grow. Yes, the older we get, the longer we have our friends, but ask yourself this: are they your friends or are they just around because it's comfortable? I know in my life there were some people that I've known since, say, junior high that I'm not going to say I got rid of, but kind of stopped communicating with them because there was no give and take in that relationship. Some of you are very comfortable with going that far into removing and eliminating your non-essentials. But what I want you to do, there was an exercise that I did for myself, and I do with my clients. I want you to write down or make a list of 5 things you're willing to give up to make your vision a reality. Your vision will tie you into your purpose. Your purpose will allow you to live a life of abundance. And when I say abundance, I am totally not talking monetary, as most of you guys know by now. I have been out of the corporate world for 3 months. It feels good to be able to wake up. For example, this morning I woke up and looked at my wife and said, hey, let's just go to the lake. And we did. We spent half the day at the lake and enjoyed the day. And I got a chance to relax. And, you know, removing non-essentials, as crazy as this sounds, allows you to save time. And that's the beauty of it. Like you can't buy time. You can't sell time. The average person, I think the stats were the amount of television people watch, average American watches, I think, is 2 to 3 hours a day. But what if you stopped watching television? Let's say worst case scenario is 2 hours, or in this case, best case scenario, 2 hours. 2 hours a day multiplied by, let's just use a work week, so 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. What if you gave yourself 10 hours? Not only that, some of us turn the TV on just for background noise, but if we talked about in the past, that background noise really dictates kind of how your day goes. If you use background noise as the news in the morning, waking up to, this is kind of in the news lately, but massacres, waking up to that, I'm not saying you don't need to know about it, and I'm not saying it's a non-essential, but waking up to that really dictates your mood for the day. Why wake up to that? Why don't you just wake up to the sound of whatever's going on in the house, like your kids, your spouse, maybe you have pets, right? Some of you are paw parents. Listen to those sounds and kind of, or listen to yourself. So oftentimes we don't follow our gut instinct, or intuition as it's also called. Why? Because there's so many distractions. And these distractions are the radio, they are the television, they are certain people in our lives that we need to get rid of. And we just need to move forward and be okay with letting them go. Now I want you to list two things that you're going to give up, like hands down, no doubt in your mind, you're going to give these things up. Think about it. What are the two things? I told you to make a list of 5 things that you're willing to give up. But just because we're willing to do it, like I'm willing to run 3 miles a day. Am I going to do it? No. But I'm willing to do it. I want you to write down 2 things that you're going to do. Because there's a difference in willing and actually doing. So I want you to implement. What are 2 things you are going to give up? And I don't want you to overthink it. Some of us are, let's use diet as an example. Some of us are chip people. Like if you were just to give up chips, are there health benefits to that? Probably. I used to be an ice cream person, so I've given up ice cream, or I did for a period of time. But what are you willing to give up? Maybe not waking up so late. Some of us wake up and we wake up with just enough time to rush out of the house, to rush to work for what? Maybe instead of waking up at 7:30, you wake up an hour earlier, 6:30. There are benefits to waking up and not rushing. Huge benefits. I want you to try it. If you are not a morning person, stop calling yourself or stop referring to yourself as not being a morning person. Like you're up. You should be engaging in your day. So what I want you to do is pick 2 things that you are going to give up. When I first started this journey, there was a lot of social media communication that I had to take part of, or I felt I had to take part of, until one day I'm sitting on the sofa with my son, and we're watching one of his cartoons, and he looks at me and he puts his hand on my phone and kind of slowly pushes my hand down. And I knew at that moment that Daddy made a mistake. Like I am his father, and I shouldn't have been on social media the way I was. It was our time, and I should have taken full advantage of that. And I promised to him in that moment that once I pick you up from school, like we're not getting on social media. Unless him and I are doing a video and we post it or something along those lines. But it's about him and I spending time with each other, or him, me, and his mom spending time with each other. Maybe some of us, and let me know if you've seen this. I'm not going to harp on the social media thing, but how many of you have gone out to restaurants, you've seen a family sitting down before the food comes out, which is a great time to converse, by the way, but you look over and everybody's on an iPad, on their cell phone. Mom and dad just look like, they look miserable. Maybe if they had some communication and they talked and they kind of talked about what it was like when they first met, like that's always a beautiful conversation to have with your spouse. And I'm just giving you ideas of things that you can give up, or things that you can do to change and push you towards your vision. And another thing that I started doing, and this was months back, when I went to the grocery store or the gas station, I would make sure to talk to the clerk or make sure to talk to the cashier, because those two career fields, if you will, they see people all the time, day in and day out, and people don't pay them any mind, but they're people. Like they're not just a person. They're not there to take your money. Like they're a person. Like they have a life. So I've begun building relationships with these people, and ironically enough, one of the individuals that I spoke to at a grocery store found out that I was a speaker and connected me with somebody else, and I booked a speaking gig. Right, that doesn't happen unless you build relationships, and for me that's what it was about. And that's what Think, React, Lead is about. Think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead. Like leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So what can you do to influence your environment? Now I want to talk about dealing with all of your challenges. Do you know what a challenge is in your life that you're currently dealing with? A lot of us do this thing where we have challenges in our life and we ignore them. But guess what? We all know, like it's no secret, they don't go away. They don't. They're there. Acknowledge them. This is also part of effective communication, right? Or crucial conversations. Those aren't fun to have. Maybe it's something that you're dealing with, that maybe it's a relationship issue. Maybe it's your weight. Maybe it's a conversation as a father you want to have with your daughter, right? Because she's turning into a teenager and there's just some conversations you want to have from man to daughter, or there's conversations, mom, that you want to have with your daughter or your son, and you're really not sure how to do it. Just do it. Right? What are your challenges that you're dealing with? I want you to write down 3 current challenges that you're dealing with. I'm not saying you have to take action on them today. It would be nice, but you don't have to. I want you to write them down. So not text them or type them. I literally want you to take a pen or pencil on a piece of paper and write down 3 challenges that you're currently having, because then you see the challenges. Maybe you're in a relationship that you just don't want to be in, but you're going day in and day out in this relationship because you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, or you don't want to be lonely. Well, that's a challenge. It's okay to be lonely. I was having a conversation with a guy the other day. He texted me on Facebook Messenger. He said, dude, I don't know what I'm doing right now. And he was with a lady that treats him like dirt. And he's like, I can't leave. Like, I don't want to be by myself. I'm like, dude, let me explain something to you. When I was single, I went to Puerto Rico, went surfing, met a lot of cool people. I took my skateboard out there, had a blast. Go to the movies by yourself, enjoy dinners by yourself. They're cheaper, by the way. And he's getting over his challenge. I got over my challenge. Or your challenge could be simply, and I've been here before, trying to find money to put gas in the car or eat. Like, those are your 2 options. Been there before. So what did I do? My challenge was being broke. Let's just call it what it is. I got a second job. Right? I worked 40 hours a week at one job. Obviously, I wasn't making enough money to live, support my family. And then I got a second job. See, so many of us are doing this thing, and I see it day in and day out, where we put our children before us. We put them in all these sports and all these activities, but yet we're hurting inside. Like, we're living check to check. And most of my life, I've lived check to check. And I can tell you right now, it's not fun. But when I started to put my future first for myself and for my kids, things changed. They weren't challenges. I was at a point where, you know what? I had to ask myself, do I want to put these $3 that I found in my gas tank to get to work, or do I want to buy food? Or at the time, I was using a prepaid electricity card to put electricity in my house. Plenty of times I woke up and the lights were off. So I got $3. What do I do with it? And I got 48 hours until payday. That's obviously not my life now, but the only way I went from that challenge to where I'm at now was implementation. I got a second job. That second job, I ended up meeting somebody, and they connected me with kind of the career course that I went on. It's ironic the way you just, when you implement and you actually put in the work, what people kind of just stumble across your path. And if you're open and authentic and vulnerable, and you just tell them where you're at, they're willing to help you out. What challenges are you currently dealing with? I want you to write them down so that you can see them. And as you see them, you should be able to take 3 challenges that you're currently dealing with, and then challenge 1, challenge 2, challenge 3. Under challenge 1, line item A, B, and C, write down 3 ways to get over those hurdles, to get past that challenge, so that it's no longer a challenge in your life. And when you start making minute strategies for your life, it simplifies the stress. And when your stresses are simplified, they're bite-sized, right? We've all heard the phrase, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. That's actually gross. I would never use that phrase again, but now that I think about it, but it's one strategic move at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. So many times these challenges cause us to have stress, anxiety, depression. It's not fun. I've been there, and you might be there now. And it's not about being broke or being, having $1 million in the bank. Stress is stress. Everybody stresses in their own way. But the only way to get past these stresses or challenges is to do something about them. We're going to touch on being able to pay the price. So the question for you is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay the price to get over these hurdles? Are you willing to pay the price to get past these challenges? One of the things that I've done with a couple of my clients is we work together creating a vision board. Everybody wants something, and there's nothing wrong with that. I hope all of you desire something. And that something could be a better physical body. That something could be good kids when you go to the restaurant. Like we all hate being sitting around those bad kids at the restaurant. Something could be a car. Something could be a vacation. Something can be a new dress or a new suit or a new job. But what I've done with some of my clients is I'll literally sit on a conference call with them and have them print out what it is that they want. My last client, she's starting a trucking business. So we printed out, she printed out trucks. We didn't do it over the phone, but she printed out trucks and she posted them and pasted them on this vision board. Nothing helps you get past your challenges or hurdles better than seeing your vision in front of you day in and day out. I want you to put on a Post-it note in case you can't thumbtack something into your wall. I get it. But take a Post-it note and write on that Post-it note, I will be the best, whatever it is, and then put a date and put it on your Post-it or put it on your wall. Build a vision board. That's how you're going to get over these hurdles. You have to see that feeling of success every single day. And that's going to be the thing that helps get you greater than you currently are, maybe, out of your funk, maybe, past depression, maybe, over the anxiety of having to deal with life, possibly. But these are things that people deal with every single day, but I don't want you to deal with them. I want you to acknowledge them. That's why writing them down is important. And I'll say that I've already said it probably 7 times up till now, but I'll say it again. Write your challenges down so you can see them. They're in front of you, and then you write or create your vision board. One thing my mother used to do with me when we were growing up, Dad was a truck driver. We didn't live in a nice neighborhood, but we would go visit custom homes or new home builds, if you will. And we would just sit on the stairs and she'd let all of us kind of not run around, but go up the stairs and walk around and smell the new carpet and look at the new furnishings and smell the new appliances and just kind of get that feeling of what it feels like to be in a nice house. Well, that set in my head, and I knew when I grew up, like I wanted to have a nice house. And finally, I ended up getting a nice house. Not my dream house, but it's much better than what I grew up in. Most of you know that I ride a Ducati. My wife rides a Ducati. I looked at Ducatis for 7 years before I purchased one. I could never afford anything on the Ducati floor when I walked into the showroom. But I sat on them. I built a relationship with the guys at the dealership. And then one day, my wife went in and I went in and we bought Ducatis. And it was a beautiful feeling. For me, it was a childhood dream fulfilled. Try it. I'm putting together a challenge, a 7-day and a 30-day challenge. And one of the challenges is getting that feeling of onus, like going into a dealership and sitting in your dream car and knowing what it feels like to sit in that car, right? I sat in a H1. Ironically enough, that was one of my dream cars. And I think it's this crazy thing because I was in the military and I just kind of I had fun in the military and I was in Hummers all the time. But when I sat in this Hummer, which I thought was my dream car, after driving it around, test driving it around, so uncomfortable. And we've talked about this before, like, is your dream really your dream? I've outgrown a H1 from a standpoint of its lack of comfortability. But I wouldn't have never known had I not gone and sat in what I thought was my dream car. And then I sat in a Porsche 911 Turbo, which a gorgeous car. I can't afford one now, but guess what? I'll be able to afford one as long as I work towards it. So the price that I have to pay for something like that is a lot. But are you willing to pay the price? But along the way, you grow, right? You're paying the price for something that you want, and you don't have to ask for permission. You deserve a great life and things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But as you're working towards saving up, if you will, for these tangible items, you end up building up who you are as a person. And then as you're building up who you are as a person, you naturally become more positive because you don't have the time or luxury to pay attention to negativity. And in doing so, the people that are around you, they're like, wow, who is this guy or gal? Like they're very positive. You influence those around you. Remember we talked about leadership. Leadership influence, nothing more, nothing less. And the ball gets rolling, and that snowball gets larger and larger and larger from a positive perspective. And next thing you know, you're a completely changed individual. That's how you get past these challenges. But you have to be willing to pay the price. And as we're talking about, are you willing to pay the price? I want you to think about next Tuesday when we speak, or when I speak, excuse me, and we meet again. We are going to talk about, am I willing to pay the price? We're going to talk about the vision and how it's not free. And we're also going to talk about how it's going to be required of you sooner than you think to put in that grit, that tenacity, that effort, that fervor to get out of life what you want. And again, these are follow-ups to 7 steps to vision success. Again, my name is Dom Faussette, executive coach and leadership speaker. I can be found on Instagram, Think React Lead, and at Dom Faussette, Facebook, Think React Lead, and at Dom Faussette, YouTube, Think React Lead, Twitter, Think React Lead. I hope you guys and gals have a wonderful rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you and speaking to you a week from now. Until then, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye.
Hard work, work. Hard work.